Literally, as that awful smash was happening, the awful crash involving so many young people in the Vaal, the Human Rights Commission in Northwest was launching its scholar transport report in that province, following complaints with the system there. The complaints include the overloading of passengers, unroadworthy vehicles. Shirley Mlombo is the provincial manager for Northwest for the South African Human Rights Commission. Shirley, good afternoon to you. What findings did you make? What kind of transport are children receiving in Northwest?
Good afternoon, Stephen, and good afternoon to your viewers. And firstly, allow me to express or extend our sincere condolences to the families that lost children this morning in Thunder Bay Park, as well as to wish those children who are in critical condition a speedy recovery. Indeed, Stephen, as you've indicated, we launched our investigative report into scholar transport challenges in the Northwest this morning. And the key issues that we found in the report is that indeed the scholar transport challenges you've mentioned, the overcrowding, unroadworthy transport, they are systemic in the Northwest, impacting on various rights of learners, including their right to education, their right to safety, their right to dignity, as well as the rights of children in Section 28 of the Constitution. Stephen.
You say many of the vehicles that you looked at were not roadworthy. Who is supposed to check on that? I mean, we've just heard from the Gauteng Transport Department that everyone needs to make sure these cars are roadworthy. Were you able to find whose responsibility that is in Northwest?
In the Northwest, the provision of scholar transport is a dual responsibility between the Northwest Department of Transport as well as the Department of Education. But the Department of Transport is a department that deals directly with contractors, enters into contracts with contractors. So they do have the responsibility to ensure that scholar transport is safe. Also, over and above their administration of the scholar transport program in the Northwest, they are responsible for law enforcement in the province. So they are required to ensure that scholar transport is safe. But the department, because it has a joint responsibility, they also have to ensure that when they allow learners after school to get into the scholar transport, they're allowing learners to get into safe scholar transport. So it is a dual responsibility in the Northwest in terms of the policy, Stephen.
I mean, the problem with the joint responsibility, as I'm sure you're aware, Shirley, is that, you know, when you've got two people who have to do something, they all both blame each other for the fact it's not done. The fact is, children clearly are being failed here. They're going home, they're going to school in unsafe vehicles.
Yes, that is the initial challenge we encountered when we started with this investigation, Stephen, that there was that back and forth between the departments, but ultimately during the course of the investigation, there was that acceptance as provided for in policy, as well as the various guidelines, relating to scholar transport in the province, that this is a dual responsibility. And therefore, the Department of Education cannot afford to sit on its hands and expect COSATMA to do all the work in ensuring that there's safe scholar transport. That is why you would have seen in our recommendations, we did recommend or direct that there is a review of the policies, and that the policies also expressly acknowledge the dual nature of these responsibilities, starting from planning and implementation of the program.
I realise that you're the provincial manager in Northwest, and that's where you're based, Shirley. But this report was in response to complaints about scholar transport there. I don't know if you know from your colleagues in other parts of the country if they get the same complaints. And obviously this accident today has happened in Gauteng. I'm sure everyone can tell you from personal experience what they've seen. But do you get complaints from other provinces too? Could this report then be extended to other provinces?
As you've rightly indicated, Stephen, the investigation primarily focused on the Northwest, but we did last year also release our school readiness report, which did highlight, the challenge of scholar transport in some other provinces. But I think Other provinces may be better placed to speak, about the scholar transport challenges in their provinces. But the school readiness report does provide at least a preliminary indication that the challenges of scholar transport are not limited to the Northwest, and indeed, from media reports, apart from the story that broke this morning, it's very clear that the challenges that the Northwest is experiencing are not unique to the Northwest.
Shirley Mlombo, thank you so much. I really do appreciate the time, ma'am. The Provincial Manager for the South African Human Rights Commission in Northwest on that report. And of course, our teams for you both at the Sebokeng Hospital, where some of the children who were hurt in today's accident are being treated, and on the site of the accident itself in the Vaal.